Another video for you with new stories from Somaliland, Sudan and Ethiopia. Firstly, Somaliland, where today opposition and party in power leaders held a meeting. Opposition and ruling party politicians, President Musi Abdi and opposition parties have been in disagreement in recent months about next presidential election due to be held in November this year. Secondly, Sudan, what's happening there after Abdul Fattah al-Burhan's announcement to withdraw from talks? What is happening there? 3 sit-ins were ongoing. Are the sit-ins still intact? Because we know that government forces, Sudan security forces stormed these sit-ins after Burhan's speech. Third news story is about a TPLF leader, founder of TPLF, Sebhat Nega. It seems that he is planning to leave Ethiopia. And fourthly, today at last, Tigray government spoke about floods in Tigray. Last week, I reported about floods due to heavy rains in Tigray. Property damage is being reported in Tigray. And in one town of Tigray, at least 10 people have been killed due to these floods following heavy rains. Fifthly, very important news story, a Fano faction which was working in collaboration with Ethiopian National Defense Force and regional forces today released a statement. Mahre Vedajo's East Amhara Fano released a statement. It was being said that Mahre Vedajo is in alliance with ENDF. That is why he is being allowed to work, his Fano faction is being allowed to work, and East Amhara Fano fighters are being trained and sent to front lines. But today, Mahre Vedajo made some revelations. What did he say? And lastly, Ethiopian House of People's Representatives today held a session. Some key decisions have been made regarding Wellega massacre, and PM Abiy is due to appear at the parliament tomorrow. Firstly, viewers, first news story is from Somaliland, where in November, presidential election will be held. Kalmiye's party, Kalmi party's chief Musi Abdi will contest for another term. He is being challenged by Wadani party and UCID. Opposition parties Wadani and UCID have been in disagreement. They have been at odds with Musi Abdi, and they have been accusing Musi Abdi that he wants extension and he is not sincere in conducting next presidential election on time. The dispute between opposition government was over registration of new political parties and constitution of election commission. In June, on the 9th of June, opposition parties protested in Hargeisa, Somaliland's capital. Security forces used force, excessive force. Several politicians, political activists were arrested. But today, 12 opposition politicians were released by the government. And after that, there was a meeting between Musi Abdi and opposition politicians. And the two sides have shown their willingness to resolve the stalemate over presidential election peacefully through dialogue. So breakthrough happened today. It seems that the two sides are now resorting to dialogue to resolve their outstanding issues. Second story is from Sudan, viewers, where on Thursday there were massive demonstrations. Tens of thousands of Sudanese protested since October. Sudanese have been protesting, but on a Thursday, Sudanese forces once again used force. Around 10 protesters were killed. After that, protesters staged sit-ins in 3 cities. And immediately after that, Al-Burhan, Sudanese army chief, head of Sudan Sovereignty Council, delivered a speech, and he announced the withdrawal of Sudanese military from talks, and he announced formation. He offered Sudanese civilians, Sudanese politicians to sit and form a government, and he announced that after the formation of the government, a Supreme Security Council will be formed. What happened after that? After that, the sit-ins were stormed by security forces. Sit-ins in Al-Joda sit-in in Khartoum city, capital city, in Darman, in Bahari. The 3 sit-ins were stormed, were attacked by Sudanese security forces. At least 10 participants in the sit-ins were injured. Darman sit-in was dispersed, but people managed to restart the sit-in. So now what we have confirmed is that still 3 sit-ins are intact. One in Khartoum city, and the second one in Darman, which was restarted, and third one in Bahari city, and a 4th one started as well 24 hours ago in Wadani, Jazeera state. So 4 sit-ins are now continuing in Sudan. Meanwhile, Forces for Freedom and Change, FFC, yesterday said Al-Burhan's announcement of withdrawal from talks is a tactical retreat, and Sudanese resistance committees, FFC, they have rejected Burhan's decision to form a Supreme Security Council. It is being said the Supreme Security Council will be merger of Rapid Support Force, Janjaweed fighters, and Sudanese military, and the security, this Supreme Security Council will be in charge of some foreign policy issues as well, and Sudan's central bank will also be under this Supreme Security Council proposed by Abdul Fattah Burhan. That is why Sudanese political parties, resistance committees, FFC are rejecting this Supreme Security Council proposed by Abdul Fattah Burhan. Meanwhile, dialogue has kicked off, consultations are underway. Can civilians form a government or not? That is the main question. At the same time, resistance committees are continuing their demonstrations, their sit-ins, because these sit-ins and demonstrations led to pressure upon Abdul Fattah Burhan, and he announced the withdrawal of Sudanese military from talks, but still he wants formation of a Supreme Security Council which will be in charge of foreign policy, economy and security in Sudan. Let's see. Important thing is, can Sudanese politicians, civilian factions agree on a new government on this transitional period leading to next election or not? Thirdly, your Sebhat Nega, founding member of Tigray People Vision Fund, today reportedly visited US Embassy in Addis Ababa. Sebhat Nega, an old man, was arrested by Ethiopian National Defense Force last year after Tigray was attacked by regional and federal forces in November 2020. He was arrested. He was put in prison. He was charged with terrorism, with treason. Later, in January this year, he was released. And Ethiopian government said that he was released due to his age and due to some developments. And the purpose of the release was to pave way for peaceful solution to ongoing conflict in Ethiopia. It seems that he is planning to leave Ethiopia. He visited US Embassy in Addis Ababa today. His visit was related to his request for a US visa, it is being said. Will Ethiopian government allow him to travel abroad? That remains to be seen. Will US government grant visa to him, a medical visa, a tourist visa? We don't know, but reportedly he was there at US Embassy in Addis Ababa today. Fourthly, viewers, at last Tigray government today spoke about natural disaster in Tigray. Heavy rains have caused floods in different parts of Tigray. Last week I reported property damage due to floods in Tigray today. Tigray Public Relations Bureau released a statement. It confirmed that recent heavy rains have caused floods in different parts of Tigray, and diseases are spreading, cattle are dying, and infrastructure damage is also being reported across Tigray. At least 10 casualties are being reported in one town of Tigray due to these floods. The name of the town is Salekaleka. In Salekaleka, reportedly due to heavy rain-induced floods, at least 10 people died. And Tigray government today offered condolences to the families of these victims who have died in Salekaleka due to these floods. So Tigray is facing crisis after crisis, under blockade, no electricity, no telecom, no banking. People cannot access their own money, which is in banks. No banking. Food aid limited. Gradually people are starting to receive aid, and now heavy rains. Tigray government's resources are limited. There are questions over the efficiency of Tigray government officials. There have been accusations against Tigray government officials that they were involved in some illegal practices. Later we saw statement from Tigray government rejecting these allegations. So there are all types of issues in Tigray due to siege, due to this natural disaster, and due to internal problems as well. Watch this video from Salekaleka, where at least 10 casualties are being confirmed due to heavy rains induced floods. Fifthly, was very important news story. We have been monitoring Fano factions, who is controlling them, which Fano faction is under crackdown, which is pro-government. We know that East Amhara Fano, led by Mere Vodajo, was on good terms with Ethiopian National Defense Force, regional forces. Its fighters were being trained by government forces. They were being sent to front lines as well. Mere Wodajo was seen with Ethiopian army officials in recent days while there was crackdown on Fano factions in Gajam. Zamine Kasi's house was raided. Masri Shah's house in Gajam was raided, but no action against Mere Wodajo because he was on good terms with Ethiopian National Defense Force. But today, Mere Wodajo Fano faction, East Amhara Fano, released a statement. East Amhara Fano faction says that North Shore Zone top security and political leaders invited East Amhara Fano for a meeting in Woldia city. The meeting was held. Two demands were made by government officials, security officials. The demands were, firstly, Fano should convert itself into a militia. And secondly, that Fano should not collect any money. It should not raise funds from the people. But the two demands have been rejected by East Amhara Fano. Mere Wodajo says that Fano is a legacy of the struggle of forefathers, Amhara forefathers, Ethiopian forefathers, and Fano will remain Fano. If Fano turns into militia, it means that it will come under government control. Government will arm it, government will support it. Government will pay the salaries of Fano fighters as well. But Mere Wodajo today rejected this offer of Ethiopian government that Fano should turn into a full-fledged militia. Secondly, he said that in recent days funds have been raised in Kobo city in the name of Fano by government, and he said this is not Fano's money. Money is not being spent on Fano. Fano does not need this government raised money in Kobo city. And Mere Wodajo further said that Fano does not need government money. It needs only weapons and meals which are being provided by the people of Amhara region. So we are seeing here some problem between Fano faction of Mere Wodajo and government forces. It seems that Mere Wodajo has refused to come under government control. What will happen next? Will Mere Wodajo's faction also come under crackdown, like we are seeing crackdown against Fano fighters across Amhara region? Thousands have been arrested. Or will these talks continue between Mere Wodajo and government forces? That remains. But this meeting indicates the strategy of government regarding containment of Fano. I have been speaking on that. Government wants to control, to contain Fano. It wants only those Fano factions to work which are under government control. But Mere Wodajo has refused to come under government control, it seems. Lastly, viewers, today Ethiopian House of People's Representatives HOPR held a session. Some decisions were made. Nama, Azima, other parties had been requesting a special session on Wellega massacre, and today's session was held. Statement was issued, but no mention of Amhara in the entire statement. The session condemned civilian killings wherever they are happening. No mention that ethnic Amharas are main victims of civilian killings these days. Secondly, the House observed 1 minute silence and prayer for the victims who have been killed due to new escalation. Thirdly, a committee has been formed by the House, an investigative committee to investigate recent civilian killings. Nama Desalegn Chane demanded 1 day national mourning, and he requested that national flag be lowered in mourning for 3 days. But House did not agree with his proposal, and only 1 minute silence was observed for prayers for the victims of recent massacres. And reportedly tomorrow on Thursday, PM Abiy will appear at the House. He will attend the session. Budget will be tabled today. Draft will be passed on Thursday. And secondly, national issues, especially security issues, will come under discussion. PM Abiy might respond to what Hangasa Ibrahim said a few hours ago when he accused Oromia Regional President, Oromia Prosperity Party head, Oromia Police Chief of being involved in killings of ethnic Amharas in Wellega. What will PM Abiy say in the Parliament, in the House on Thursday? We'll update you tomorrow about PM Abiy's appearance there. Thank you for watching.